Challenges of crime deterrence in Asuncion, Davao del Norte. Basis for Enhancement Program. Group Z2168. Submitted by GEMENTIZA, Rex D, PACON, NICO A, and Sanchez LENARD. Introduction. Unquestionably, the pandemic in 2020 becomes one of the most significant events in history that affect culture, operations, the government, economy, politics, social interaction, and crime. Crime is a universal problem until today, and it extensively affects society. However, despite the spread of pandemics, crime still do exist. In Washington Post, in New York, there were reported cases of burglaries and assaults, although it is much lower. Deterrence is a well-defined concept that has been studied and practiced throughout history, and to an event later deep following the advent of nuclear weapons. The present challenges it is to understand the role digital technologies play in the broader scope of interstate deterrence. Yet, this is a dangerous constraint that elevates risk and minimize the probability of success. One of the primary responsibilities of a government is to protect its citizens from crime, but preventing crime can take many forms. There is evidence that crime is disproportionately concentrated in economically distressed areas, and that reducing poverty can also reduce crime. Addressing mental illness can also lower crime rates. There is an undisputed link between addiction and crime, and providing chemical dependency treatment is particularly effective at reducing property crime rates. The most common method of addressing crime, though, is through enforcement and punishment. The theory suggests that directing offenders to certain treatment or training progress will change the individual and keep him or her from committing new offenses. Retributive theory suggests that a person who makes an intentional decision to violate the law should be punished for the decision to that the person can pay a debt to society and then return with a mass slave. Deterrence is the theory of the criminal penalties do not just punish violators but also discourage other people from committing similar offenses. Many people offender is said to have received a life sentence. Some argue that a tougher sentence would have prevented the tragedy and can prevent a similar tragedy from taking place in the future. The study is also associated with the broken window theory. This theory explains how elements such as visible sign of crime, antisocial behavior, and civil disorder contribute to an urban environment and that encourages more crime and disorder, especially serious crime, and how to prevent crime in the commonly by using a problem-solving approach that significantly help to increase public order, lower crime rates, and fears of committing a crime such as neighborhood watch program, police patrol, and curfew. In local, particularly in Asuncion, Davao del Norte, problem with regards to challenges of crime deterrence in Asuncion, Davao del Norte of this place. Furthermore, researchers have not found existing studies related to the challenges of crime deterrence in which researchers find urgency and a gap in the literature addressing the issue. Since these are no study has been founded yet, the researchers have been pointed the more research is needed in this area of study. This study need to develop appropriately practices on how crime deterrence can be prevented. The research to conduct the study. The result of the study will be beneficial to the following. The possible finding that will be gathered may provide significant benefits to the government sector and law enforcers, as this study can give them additional ideas on how to prevent crimes based on the perceptions of barangay officials, the formulate strategies and intervention to improve crime deterrence activities. The finding of this study can give additional ideas on the possible practices that they could also implement in their jurisdiction to prevent crime amidst pandemic.
Research objectives. This study aimed to determine the level of challenges of crime deterrence in Asuncion, Davao del Norte, basis for enhancement program. Specifically, this study aimed to answer the following questions: to determine the level of challenges of crime deterrence in Asuncion, Davao del Norte in terms of neighborhood watch programs, police patrol, and curfew. 2. To propose an enhancement program based on the extent of implementation of crime deterrence in Asuncion, Davao del Norte. Method: research design. The study aims to determine the challenges of crime deterrence in Asuncion, Davao del Norte. Basis for enhancement program. The researchers gathered the information through the use of questionnaire. The empirical, quantitative, non-experimental research design incorporates numerical and measurable data. Research participant. Residents in Asuncion, Davao del Norte will be the study's respondents. The study's respondents will be chosen using a random sampling method by the researchers using the Sloven's formula with 0.05 level of confidence. The respondents required for this study will be 250. The respondents must be 16 to 50 years old and must be resident in Asuncion, Davao del Norte. The researchers choose this age group because they believe it will contribute significantly to the study and because it is age group that is most likely to engage the challenges of crime deterrence in Asuncion, Davao del Norte. Basis for enhancement program. Method: materials and instruments. The researchers will be utilizing a modified questionnaire in determining the challenges of crime deterrence in Asuncion, Davao del Norte. Basis for enhancement program. The survey questionnaire is the challenges of crime deterrence in Asuncion, Davao del Norte. Basis for enhancement program. In terms of neighborhood watch programs, police patrol, and curfew. Permissions consent to conduct a study and survey among the selected respondents will be included in the survey questionnaire forms to be answered by the respondents. In evaluating the level of the challenges of crime deterrence in Asuncion, Davao del Norte, the 5 orderable gradations with their respective range of means and description were considered. Range of means: 4.21 to 5. Description, equivalent, very high. Interpretation. This means that the challenges of crime deterrence in Asuncion, Davao del Norte is very much observed. 41 to 3.41 to 4.20 high, 2.61 to 3.40, 1.81 to 2.60, 1 to 1.80, moderate, low, very low. This means that the challenges of crime deterrence in Asuncion, Davao del Norte is moderately observed. This means deterrence in Asuncion, Davao del Norte is less observed. This means that the challenges of crime deterrence in Asuncion, Davao del Norte is not observed.
Design and procedure. The researchers will gather the data in these following steps. 1. Creating of the questionnaire. 2. Submission of the questionnaire for validation. 3. Requesting for the approval for distribution of the instrument to the respondent. The creation of the questionnaire will undergo inspection with the advisors. Expertise to perfect the content before the next step. Subsequently, the check questionnaire will undergo for validation to the panel of examiner. The comment, suggestion, and recommendation from the panel will be applied and will be carefully refined before proceeding to its distribution. After that, the researcher will be submit a request letter to the Dean of UM Tagum College to ask for the approval of conducting the study and for the contribution of the instrument among the chosen participants. After having the approval of the Dean, the researchers will be distribute the instrument to the respondent with a random sampling method using Google Form to collect pertinent data. Statistician treatment of data. The statistical tool is used for data analysis and interpretation of are following. Mean. This statistical tool is used to determine the level of challenges of crime deterrence in Asuncion, Davao del Norte. Basis for enhancement program. These are the references.